Before you, my whole life was acapella. Now a symphony's the only sound I hear. That's Khalees. The song is acapella, and that's the song that brings us here today. Greetings, guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette. This is my channel, Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I am a professional intuitive empath. Got some things I got to do, but before I do it, the angel said to come talk to you. So let's get to it. I have shared with you guys some things, and I'm going to share with you guys something today. Black sand beaches in Costa Rica. Beautiful energy and a powerful lesson, Mama Aya, of me setting myself free. My higher self setting myself free, always intersecting my destiny. I've told you guys stories where I am what feels like very much the underdog and people are just taking the piss out of me. But I didn't tell you the other side of what happens when you cut yourself free and then your angels orchestrate for you to be truly, truly free. I had someone in the comments, A1 Day One, who heard one of the stories and she called the person a demented fairy, and I thought, that's appropriate. It fits, it sticks, okay? So I was soulmate dating a demented fairy, okay? And what that means is that she was diabolical in so many ways and played in my face and lied in my face and all the rest of it. Well, she did a lot of disrespectful things, but she did something that was very egregious. I was embarrassed for her in so many ways, but that was it. That was the game she was going to play. It's not about her, though. This is about what happens when you choose yourself. She was a juxtaposition trying to play with my mental health. But what was happening is that my angels were like, get up! My spirit team didn't like her. It's interesting. I have different people show up for me, different totems and different things happen when I'm dealing with spiritual warfare. Sometimes my father will show up. He did not show up for her. It was just my spirit team that showed up. I had someone who I thought it was a super light thing. Like, it didn't really offend or bother me because I understood that there was a high level of mental illness that was there, and people that are mentally ill never think they're mentally ill. But my father showed up. The person wrote down the word the Nile, and the next day the family says to me, we feel like you were Moses, which is my father's name, dropped off on a basket on our doorstep after floating down the river Nile. So my angels had connected my father showing up, and then later someone in her family, a patriarchal figure, took a picture of me from the back while I was just sitting on a cold porch wrapped up in a blanket looking at my phone. I didn't even know he took the picture. He sent it to me later, and my angels made it clear that your father was there. That was your father looking at you after someone had done something that was obviously much more diabolical than I was even aware, because I was just like, oh, okay, well, this was easy to manage. But my father showed up for her. So I have no rhyme or reason how I'm taken care of, or how people or entities or warring factions show up for me. I was dealing with high spiritual warfare, I thought, with Demented Fairy, and this person was like a flea, like a flick to me. But obviously she must have been dangerous in ways that I could not have seen, and validated by a lot of things later. But that's what my father showing up showed me. He was a horrible, diabolical, mentally ill narcissist, and maybe like attract like. So he showed up because that person was not right. And I didn't even have anything to do with it. I was so surprised that she was channeling. She literally wrote down the word the Nile over a conversation that was happening. Then her family the next day confirmed it, even though I'm sure not a word was said between them. They just intuited, and the angels laid it on their heart, Moses. And that was I was like, wow, you in trouble, sis. I was like, I don't even know what you were really trying to do, but if my dad shows up, it's an ass whipping of epic proportions that is ongoing for you. I felt bad for her. I was like, damn, what were you doing? Especially if I dealt with the Demented Fairy and I never saw my daddy. Not one time. Anyway, the reason I say all of that is because I was dealing with this, but my angels were like giving me context clues. You got to get away from this person. She is doing you. Get up! Get up, okay? She is doing you, twin. And she was so disrespectful. You know, in another video I talked about ethical relationships. And we had what would be an open connection. And I was very honest with her right from the beginning. I wondered why I spoke with her the way that I did, because when I'm dating someone, I'm very honest and transparent, but I don't necessarily say the words I said to her. And when I realized who she was and what a pathological liar she was, my angels were covering my own ass. They were like, we need you to talk to her like she's, special, because she truly is going to try to switch everything and lie about everything. And what they did was, because it was so peculiar to her that I was so direct and honest, she took that back as fodder and food for the hive mind mentality she was feeding, because she was not her own person. So even if she tried to lie on me later, it's like they checked her math before they could even check me out of the situation. She was telling everything that was happening in the relationship, and it was humorous because all of her people were karmic, and they were in karmic relationships and not having shit, and nothing was right for them. And she was laughing about the way that I was approaching her properly, and it was told in humor and jest, which she relayed later to me. We were laughing at you. That was hilarious. But it was the way that the angels were protecting me. Oh, I love my spirit team. They were like, we're going to make her think this is so funny that she's going to take it right back to them. It's like when one of those roaches gets a hold of some boric acid and take it back to the nest. Well, that's what they did. They had my truth be the thing that was their humor. It was also the thing that would detonate right in all of their faces, because she couldn't lie and be like she didn't handle this properly or whatever. No matter how she rationalized it, I love that. I love when the angels outthink me. I was like, why am I saying this so specifically like this? And they said, trust us, sis. With this one, you got to be super specific. And if you could get it in writing, you should, because she's going to lie about everything. And she did. But in that moment, when you get into any relationship, you have a soulmate contract, and you could talk about what you need, what you expect, what you would like, back and forth. And we did that too. And she cooperated, accepted, said what she could, what she couldn't do, where she was at in her life, etc. And I was very fair with her, more fair than my angels tell me anybody will ever be in her life, because she wants to be diabolical, so that will be repaid to her in kind. And so what they did was, but here's the thing about soulmate contracts. You don't need someone to come and tell you that they're lying to your face all the time for the soulmate contract to be annulled and to be obliterated. People obliterate all the time. Check out one of the shorts I have for you where I talk about someone obliterated the soulmate contract with you. Listen, guys, she obliterated it. She did something so disrespectful. She went on a date while we were on a date and then lied in my face, and I gave her so many chances. You know how you have like a bad kid and you're like, Timmy, did you take the cookies out of the jar? Or did you touch mommy's whatever? And they just lie to you and lie to you, lie to you. I remember her sitting, spit roasting in front of me, half naked, talking about some, like, I was like, hey, is this something you're interested in? Is this something you would like to do? I was talking to her like you would talk to a child, because that's how she was acting. And she was like, no, I thought it was because of you. I thought it was because of me. I thought it's because of the way that the sky should be. Like, I was just like, so many times. But she was so disrespectful. So it annulled the soulmate contract. I was like, this is wild. And she had a battery in her back, the angel said too, which I understood later. But she had her friends and family co-signing because they felt like I didn't deserve the level of respect that I was obviously giving her and the boundaries that I was obviously watching. She had no boundaries when it came to me. None. Still to this day. But in that moment, I was minding every one of her boundaries and whatever she needed. Anyway, so my angels are like, we hate this. We hate her. We hate this for you. She's horrific. She's dirtying up your aura, your energy. She has no business being proximal to you. And it's not like she didn't know. I will tell you guys, when we first got together, she flew in someplace to meet me. I was hired by Aflac to go work a corporate event, to do readings at like their VIP event. And she flew in to where it was at. I think it was in Idaho. I rented a chalet in the mountains in the next state over. And so I worked, and then we went up to the chalet, and it was supposed to be wonderful. And it was picturesque and beautiful. Like the angels laid out a Hallmark scene overlooking the valley. It was absolutely gorgeous. But she came to kind of be like my assistant, to work with me. It was like one of our first, like, you know, it wasn't our first date, but it was like one of the first. And so one of the things that happened is she was out there. I lost my train of thought. Reverse back. fly out Idaho. Oh, and so one of my friends lived out there too, and she had just moved out there, and so I went to a like Bass Pro Shop or Acapella's to pick up some outdoor chairs because she didn't have her furniture yet, like it was still being shipped over, but she had her house, and so I wanted us to have some places to sit and we can go outside and whatever. So I went to the Bass Pro Shop because I wanted to get my friend some chairs, right? And she was driving the big body, whatever we had rented because we needed something good for being up in the snowy mountains later. And she pulled up so close that she was almost on top of the pylons that were in front of this sports store. I think it was a Bass Pro Shop. And you know, like the protective, like concrete pylons that are there. And she did it so quickly and so kind of dramatically that the manager came out because he was like, whoa, are we being robbed? What's happening here? And I remember her and my angels like snapshot with my neurodivergency. They snapshot things for me. And what they did was they had me never forget. She literally leans out the window and he was like, are you guys okay? Or what's happening? And he's trying to like check the parameter on the premises. And she was like, oh, I just had to pull up real close like this because I'm dropping off a queen. That's what she said to me, sis. That's what she said to him. That was it. She was like, I'm just dropping the queen off up front. Love bomb, narky shit, all the rest of it. Y'all ever been love bombed? So this person knew who I was. She was calling me queen and understood and was the biggest fan and all that. So many lessons in this one demented fairy. But that was her reality, only for within 6 months for her to be trying to literally dysregulate my emotions and diminish everything and act like she had, like we went from, I want to juxtapose this because I'm going to take you guys to a different place. I remember on our very first date, I am getting the truck out of LA. She ends up walking up and I'm like, where's she at? And then she just appears from nowhere and she's carrying a half open case of water. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, why was she thirsty? She didn't tell me I would have got it. What's going on? And she was like, look what I found on the street. And she was genuinely so happy. One of the things that I teach you guys is identify a baseline. That baseline came very in handy later when she was trying to play with my mind. She was so excited to find a half open case of water off the street. And I was like, sweetie, like, you're with me now. Like, it's okay. If you need Fiji, if you need Saratoga, I got you. Whatever you need. If you just don't want Dasani, I don't care. You pick your poison. But I will make sure there's water here. And she was like, this is amazing. And whatever. And I have a CPAP. She was like, you put in your CPAP. And I'm like, bitch, I don't know where this water's been at or who put what needle, or I don't care if it was all sealed up. That was wild to me, especially for her level of increased disrespect as we would go on to date. And she expeditiously began to devalue me. I was like, that was a baseline. I'm going to take you full circle. Bing, bam, bam, boom. Bing, bam, bing, bam, boom, bam, bam, on some Kendrick shit. And also, on one of our first dates, I think it was in Atlanta, I was at another retreat. Someone else had hired me to do readings at another retreat. And she flew in and I remember she picked out a brunch spot. I was like, okay, I guess. If you've been in one brunch spot in Atlanta, you've been to many. There is going to be grass on the wall and people twerking and endless mimosas. And so we're having this lunch and she'd just gotten out of a very toxic poly relationship, you know, a little bit before she met me. But I remember her looking around, establish a baseline, wide-eyed, impressed. Now, I'm like, this place is aight, right? And we can do much better, of which I did demonstrate and show her. But she was like, wow, my exes would have been so impressed that we could even eat in a place like this. That was the baseline. And that's why when she was playing in my face later, I said, the devil's a fucking liar. You are full of shit. The full circle of that is when she dropped me off to JFK on our last ridiculous date where I was so sick. My angels were literally purging her out of my body. I couldn't even hold in the food or anything out of either end. TMI, but that's the truth. They didn't want me to cuddle with her. They didn't want me to be next to her. Nothing. I was sick. And it doesn't mean we didn't spend time together, but it was so clear to me how horribly wrong things had gone and how much she was disrespecting me. When she was dropping me back off at the airport, she said, I need to stop because I need to return something. So I'm thinking like a home good, whatever. She pulls up to a bodega. I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's like a space heater or a fan. Bodegas do sell some housewares, right? And she's returning a $1.19 and change. I think it was a I want to say it was a Faygo, girl. I don't even think it was a Fanta, but it was like some tropical-y kind of soda. That's the baseline. That's why when I was dealing with her disrespect midway through the connection, I was like, the lies you tell. When I was like, ma'am, are you, like, I didn't want to do her. I didn't want to be mean or demean her, as she found great pleasure, schadenfreudic pleasure in doing to me. But I was like, do you want receipts, sweetie? Or no, literally, do you want that dollar and change receipt? While you're talking all this hot shit to me and while you're acting nonplussed and not impressed, sweetie? Because I can do that too. Because my shadow's here and I'm very aware of it, unlike you. She was very unaware of her shadow and the diabolical evil things it could do. I know how I can drag somebody. But I was being polite because we're ladies, right? That's right. But that was the baseline for what it looked like. So when she was playing in my face, I was like, so when you were pilfering water off the street and excited about it, might I add, and you were insistent, I didn't even know you could return a soda that was open to the bodega. Maybe it wasn't open. Let me not lie on her one bit like she lied on me. Maybe it was fully closed, but I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. But what does that mean for some of the experiences? It meant that it was so outlandish, and I never should have done that or shared it, and I just had to transmute it and eat the drama of it and all of the lessons of it. She was always talking about how embarrassed she was and always trying to nitpick me. And I remember taking her to Michelin multi-star rated restaurants where she felt like it was appropriate to wear illuminated fairy wings. And I was like, fortunately, I live in a place that's quite whimsical, where it's like a portal to whimsy. So adults in bunny, Mickey ears and whatever is not a big deal to see. But I thought, God, what if we were in Prague or Sweden or India or any of the places that I end up going or where I would like to be? Would you understand what's appropriate? She was embarrassed to me, and I was like, this is embarrassing. I remember going to another restaurant where she had to wear a sarong because she thought she was going to, I guess, a beach club, which I had taken her to first class in Mexico, but she couldn't even sit down because the split was so high. I was like, read the room, sweetie. But she had a lot to say about me, but I would have been wrong, right? I would have been wrong if that's how I was coming at her instead of letting her have the experience. She was all about her Oedipus complex, which I didn't even know that women could have. I learned something new, and being tethered to her mother. And I'm like, your mother didn't tell you what's appropriate and how to do? Oh, how would she know how to tell you that? Because that's not an experience that she's had. These are not places that she's eaten, but she had a lot to say about me. So I give you a baseline for those of you that haven't heard the other stories. If this is your first time being here, no, I'm not being petty. I'm actually being far less petty than she was with me. She was diabolical. Some of the stuff, y'all, some of the stuff. So the reason that I say this is because what happens when you stand up for yourself and you're done and enough is enough is God will immediately put you right back to where you should be. So she's doing all of this nonsense with me. Absolute nonsense. We come back from Iceland, and this person delighted in negging, N-E-G-G-I-N-G, me, being a negative reinforcer to try to diminish my morality and sanity. We went from I'm dropping off the queen to just constant nitpicking, which is her internal, miserable, hateful dialogue, probably hindered directly down from her lineage of her mother. And so I was like, this is wild and this is weird. We get back from Iceland where she totally disrespects me. And then within a couple weeks, she's like, oh, I'm seeing somebody. My mother said, I just haven't seen you with a man. Now, her mother knew we were dating. I haven't seen you with a man. That's just so interesting. Because messy people love misery. We want to keep you miserable. She couldn't even see it. That's her lesson to learn later. She'll figure it out, I imagine, someday. So she was like, and I met this actor. And his name, I know 80% of y'all are melanated here watching me. And this is not a word that I say at all. So this is the name of the person. His name is Nagar. Nagar. Okay? So she was negging me, and she meets a Nagar. And my angels have a sense of humor. That was so funny to me. I was like, not the most negging person I ever dated, meeting someone named Nagar. So after Nagar, I said, beep, 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 boop. I started disconnecting myself from the connection. Well, I said a prayer, because what happened with the Nagar thing, the morning or the day she told me that, my angels were like, hit him with a rat pack. Yeah, like they told me she was about to do something that was going to try to trigger me. She liked to trigger me. She was so deeply insecure, and so she needed to, and I made another video here where I talk about people that have mother wounds will try to have all of that chasing and shenanigans going on when they're not healed. So that happens, and that morning my angels had me write down like something was going to happen. They gave me context clues, and she provides them all by the time we're on the phone talking later in that day. And I remember just like being silent and having the high-pitched ringing in my ear that I had when she was playing in my face with dating the wizard that she was trying to date in front of me while we were in Iceland, while she was texting the group chat like, oh, she's cock-blocking. I was like, they're haters and they know what you're doing. Nobody was cock-blocking. In fact, I have such a great story for you about that. I don't know if I'm going to include this all in this. Maybe a quick bit. When she was on the date with the person, guys, do you know why, besides it being disrespectful, what I never told her is that when he followed us from every place that she wanted him to follow us. She was in his lap. She was draped across him. I was like, sis, you're trying to co-opt all of this B4 celibacy TikTok, but if the girls on the TikTok could see you, you're a disappointment and a failure. Even if Shira 7 could see you, you was failing. You was not doing it right. Anyway, and so it's so funny. So in that moment, we end up in a crystal shop because he wants to essentially purchase the vagina that he would like to check out that night in the cart. He was trying to put it in the cart so he could check it out. Y'all know what we do in the Amazon. We put the thing in the cart on the wish list. Wish. And so he had made a wish and was sure that he was going to transact. Now, with her mouth, she was telling me one thing, but on her back, she might have been doing a full another. I don't know. I want to say, because I'm an earth angel, I'm going to try to keep her integrity intact. Let's say she was not going to transact like he expected to transact, but I read, so I can't help it. So I'm like, oh my goodness, he thinks like she's playing in my face, but this is a man, let me just keep it 100, that thinks he's gonna fuck at the end of the night. 1000%. And saw me as an interloper and I was like the duff messing up his like pretty boy swag or old man swag, right? Peepaw swag. So, and I'm not a hater. I do love a peepaw and a cougar. Stay tuned. But that happened. But what my angel said when we were sitting in that crystal shop and he was buying stuff for her and he was buying stuff for me too, is that I heard you're in Vandersloot. Y'all, my true crime girlies, you know. This woman loved to watch cartoons. And she was like, I don't understand how you watch all that true crime stuff. And I was like, I don't know how you don't, but okay. And I'm not I am not adverse to a cartoon, okay? Like, that is a very, like, wonderful inner child whimsical thing. It's one of the reasons I was attracted to her. But I was up on game. Now, here's the thing. This was a big full circle moment. I never explained it to her because she wouldn't have listened anyway. And because I had spent so much time in Alabama, Natalie Holloway and that whole case was a big deal for me because we were all watching it as it was happening. We were watching the mother go down. We were watching the Aruban government snub her and the horrible treatment. Then it turns out that Joran Vandersloot is a serial killer later. Like, absolutely diabolical. And we now know that he did, unalive Natalie Holloway. And God knows what else to her. Well, while this man is standing in the shop, what happens for me is like I'll see a glint in someone's eye or whatever the case may be. And this man is standing in the shop and I see this glint in his eye and my angels flash across my mind. You're in Vandersloot. I turn around, I'm looking at some of the crystals. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, what am I thinking? And then I hear Dexter. Let me explain. Y'all, I didn't even expect the story time to go this way. This man was a surgeon. So he said. Dexter, if you've ever seen that show, I think it was on HBO, I forget where, but I'm sure you can find it on streaming somewhere. Fantastic show. But Dexter was a serial killer. So now I'm getting flashes of 2 serial killers. You guys get it? Dexter was a serial killer, but it was this struggle with the audience and with his character, because who roots for a serial killer? Nobody. But Dexter only killed people that were evil, right? So it was like the anti-hero in a way. But the thing about Dexter, and this is how my neurospicy brain works, the thing about Dexter and I was going boop, 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 down and understanding, like, what's the correlation here? And what it was is that Dexter was comfortable unaliving people because he was a medical examiner. So he was comfortable seeing gruesome things. He knew how to fully lay out in plastic the room and everything, so no DNA. And he all talked about it a lot in the show, like there's always DNA, even if you think there's not, but the best you can do is the best you can do. It was a really fascinating and fantastic show. But he was a sociopath, and he had no problem. Think of Joe and you, but that's not what they flashed up to me with that. It was Dexter and Urine Vandersloot, an actual serial killer, and then one that was played in film. But the correlation, my angels are so specific with the way they disseminate information to me. The correlation was this person was a surgeon who was comfortable dispatching of a body, who knew exactly how to spatchcook. And the woman I was with was a chef, so she understood the word spatchcock when you're doing that to a chicken, to lay it out flat for it to cook properly. And so we had that, chefing commonality, but my angel said he can spatchcock a human and not blink an eye because he's comfortable with death in the human body. That's what they said about this wizard. This was an older Caucasian male that I even said to her earlier in the day, because she was playing my face so much, I had a beautiful 20 years older relationship with a soulmate male that was an Aquarian, best relationship of my life. He spoke love and life into me. His words echo with me to this day. And I said, far be it from me in our open soulmate dating ship for me to impede upon a beautiful opportunity for you to have a connection like I had, or like this. No, she assures me as she's spit roasting at the edge of the bed. She wants to use her body to manipulate me. Can I lay down with you now? I guess. I held her at bay for a while, but I was like, okay. Then later she throws him in my face again because she was so insecure, and so incredibly male identified. She needed all of the male attention at all times. And bitch, I was going to be under any bus that she could throw me under. But what I didn't tell her when we were sitting in that shop, and then I didn't tell her the next part, stay tuned, is that I heard Urine Vandersloot and Dexter, and I made the connection that if he wasn't going to be able to transact the vagina that he felt like he had paid for, that he was going to lose his shit. And what the hell did she know? She could be spread throughout the fjords of Iceland and no one would be the wiser. Now, she was always talking about how her mama would spit about her and her mama and their Oedipus complex and their Grey Garden-esque relationship. And so I was thinking, so you want me to be talking to Miss Fill in the Blank about how I allowed you to just whatever because you have no fucking girl code integrity or dignity or honesty in you? And we're actually here together, ma'am. It wasn't just like it was two random friends. It was a romantic situation, and she understood, and it was clear, and it was communicated. But she could not pass up on some goods, just like pilfering the water. We can't pass up on a lick, looking like I caught a lick. So I was like, what if this guy is it? Now, private secret, I didn't tell her that I was that soulmate energetically that was speaking life, and that would have been to her up-leveling in reality. But I let her think, because I don't ruin the test. That's the teacher in me. You got to pass that test organically and authentically. And if you don't have discernment, then far be it from me to intercept. So I let her think that was the get. I was like, oh, maybe that's what it is for you, sweetie. She assured me absolutely not. But Urine Vandersloot. So then she was like, he wants to give us a ride home. Does he? Or does he want to see where our flat is that where I rented the Airbnb? I was like, no social situational awareness in you whatsoever. So we go back, and she was so skeptical about every goddamn thing I did, but zero presence or awareness. And I was like, are you running this by Oedipus Rex? Are you telling your mama how you about to get us killed up in a foreign country? I don't tell her about the Urine Vandersloot because she wouldn't have listened to me. She would have thought I was hating. She wouldn't have. She was dismissing me in so many ways. I remember we had a thing happen when we were on a cruise. And I told her, this isn't going to happen. And then it all happened. And I told her in that moment, this can't ever happen again. Because you literally solicited me because you believe in what I say and what I do. So how come when it's in real time and it actively happening, now you're completely undermining me and acting like there's no truth? So I realized that she was a hard head. Well, what do they say? It makes a soft ass. And he was trying to check out that soft ass that night. And I said, I'm not mad at him. I'm never a hater. Never that. We get back. He drops us back off to the flat. She gets out of the car. He wants to come in. And I was just like, no, this is crazy. This is absolutely insanity. I don't know what she does to fend him off, but what she gets out of the vehicle first, she's sitting up front with him. I'm sitting in the back, and I just said, oh, thank you for the ride. He grabs my hand from the back. How he did that, I don't never know. And my hand is like this. He grabs my hand and he squeezes it. This guy's maybe like 6'4", okay? But he squeezes it like this. He squeezes it so hard my knuckles crack, guys. So the violence that I was flashing across in my mind, I knew he had in him. He saw me as an obstacle, and he said to me, this is so, with his accent, this is so important to me, Monette. You don't understand. He's squeezing my fucking hand. This diabolical, low vibrational, demonic bitch had me in so many uncomfortable situations because she's not grounded to any degree. Never told her about it. There was no reason to. I know my angels had me, but I said in this moment, this is the end of the soulmate contract to any amount of me respecting her, because she clearly doesn't respect her fucking self, so she's certainly not going to respect me. No matter what moniker of celibacy or other that she had wanted to indoctrinate herself with because it seemed cool and she had no fucking personality. So this man is threatening me, essentially. Like, bitch, get out of my way. And later, he sends her a text and says, leave your fucking friend at home. And she shows it to me because what's a good sorority sister without a hazing and some diabolical, malicious, manipulative energy? She wanted to fight with my head. So I literally go into a fight or flight response. And so what I never told you guys is, I tell the story, but I don't tell you, I dog cussed her out that night. Because I was like, I watched how you manipulate. I watched everything because my neurospicy brain had unlocked the key, so I could set myself out of the labyrinth of her misery. And I was like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Knock down, drag out, no knockdowns and no drag outs, right? She knows she's crossed every line with me because when I get into the cab after she's playing with in my face at dinner, I say to the cabbie, what's your number? Because I'm going to be leaving Iceland tonight. Because I was like, bitch, you go do whatever you want to, but I'm not going to be reporting back to your mother about shit. Because she raised you to do this dumb shit or to think that this was okay. So clearly you can just be cut up and thrown away. I can't save you. Don't save them. They don't want to be saved. I was like, I cannot help you. You don't want to help yourself. And also, my real emotions and feelings were involved. And I was like, this girl, not only is she bad for my mental health, she's bad for her health. I did not read his energy wrong whatsoever. He wanted to transact what he wanted to transact, and he wanted to do what she wanted to do. She was abusive in her way. Follow up. We come back. Before she tells me about Nagar, she flies out for something, and I don't remember the time frame of it. She takes me to an ice bar, because we were supposed to go to an ice bar that night. I didn't even know I had an ice bar in my town. She takes me to an ice bar, and I smiled real big, because when you're in an abusive connection, sometimes that's how it is. I was like, oh, that's amazing, but she knew she had fucked up. She had messed up our whole last night doing this immature, whatever nonsense, and not communicating with me. Not that I didn't ask her several times, is this what you'd like to do, sweetie? Because then I'm just going to sit here and hang out and pack, and it's all good. But she swore that was not it. But I was not reading incorrectly. Earth Angel, sometimes you will have premonitions and awarenesses of things, and people will want to gaslight you. I stopped sharing the truth with her because I knew she loved to lie. So I was like, I didn't tell her how he grabbed up my hand. I didn't tell her you're in Vandersloot and Dexter. And I didn't tell her, like, if you're not fucking tonight, even though you may think you're not, or maybe you are because you're a liar to me, who knows? Whatever, if it doesn't go his way, he will dispose of you. That's what my angel said. But she was playing with fire because she likes, that's what she liked to do. It was exciting. I noticed that the more angry I got, the more turned on she was. And I was like, I don't want to be in a relationship where someone's pulling me out of myself, that they can have a mature connection, communication, or whatever. The more distant I was, the more available she was. And so maybe she would have loved a good beat down that night and a good fight, and that might have got her aroused. I felt like she had a humiliation kink and some other things that I'll let her figure out for herself. But the point was, that's what was going on for me. I had to, like, fight for my life energetically, but also I'm dealing with someone I think is a fucking serial killer in the weirdest way. Later she tells me, because she loves triangulation, that, because before we went, I had this whole channel of a wizard, meeting wizard, Odin, whatever. She's the only person I told about it. Everything I thought and said to her came true. He was the wizard that we intercepted. Odin too. We did some beautiful stuff there. But there was a volcano that was about to blow, and I was like, oh, I hope the volcano holds. Well, Pele represents explosion and anger, right? Well, it did hold, but right after it did blow, and the Blue Lagoon that we went to was very much in danger, and they were trying to save it because it's one of the wonders of the world, all that stuff. Well, she told me that she had talked to the wizard, because ethical anything is not something she would practice. I wouldn't even put poly on her, just ethical relationships. She is an instigator and she's an anarchist. And so there's a way to move, and I'm about to tell you about the way you move, where you're not offending everybody and hurting feelings and being ridiculous and being careful with people if you are in open or whatever kind of connections. Stay tuned. But she tells me that she's talked to him because she just likes to fuck with me. And she's like, oh, I reached out to him to ask him if his family was okay for the volcano explosion or whatever. And essentially he was like, fuck my family. I don't really give a damn about my family. I'm not even that close to them. And I'm thinking, a man that's in a country and his family could be incinerated by a volcano doesn't care about his family, but you felt safe in your crazy demented brain to go off into the Icelandic night with a stranger and his friends. And you didn't think you were going to have to put up a fight for your poom poom, which is not full of prestige, it's full of demons. Demons, a demon. It's a demon. But literally, no matter what she was saying she was or wasn't, what he saw was something different. Now, because I'm a bisexual woman, I understand masculine energy. I was reading his energy 1000% correctly, and it was validated from the Dexter, Urine Blander sleuth, and the way he cracked up my knuckles, because he thought I was in his way. I said, ma'am, what you thought was a cock-blocking fight might have saved your life, you ungrateful fuck. She was so ungrateful, she has no idea. I sent you back to your mama so y'all could continue your Oedipus tear through the world. I saved her life that night. She doesn't realize it was not going to go how she thought it was going to go. And I thought, unless this is what you do and you're really a prostitute on the low and you're hiding that, which I wouldn't be surprised by, but unless that was like what you were signed up for and you knew you were going to put out, why would you put yourself in a position to be with her? And with all of the education we have about how men are so, choose the bear, you understand? I just thought, oh, there's not a lot going on up here. All right. So I just needed to set the full stage for why I was fed the absolute heck up with her nonsense. We come back, Nagar, this other guy, whatever. I was just like, you know what? You got it. She was so deeply insecure. I was not going to tell her about who I was seeing or what I was doing because I wasn't seeing anybody. I was truly locked in with her, but she did not want to lock in. But she was like, unlock, what's a lock, padlock, no lock, unlock. She didn't want it. I said, fine. I'm not mad at you. You youthful in your mind. She was 3 years younger than me, but you're 20 in your mind, honestly. 16, 5 sometimes, and you go be free. And so the soulmate contract was done. That's something you guys need to know. You don't have to have a big talk about what's happening. Are they disrespecting you? Are you in fucking danger with some man cracking up your knuckles because they think they're transacting the poom poom at the end of the night? So then the soulmate contract is done. Is she telling you about everyone who's flying in her face and she has no respect and that's how she wants to run her race? Let her run her race how she wants to run her race. You be the tortoise. Let them be the hare. So I write down the thing. She tells me about Nagar later that day. My angel said, we told you she would do that this morning and whatever. But I stopped telling her anything because she didn't believe me. Far be it from me. So literally the next day, I'm going to Whole Foods. I want some oysters and some other stuff. I'm in Whole Foods. And I'm at the fishmonger line. It's a long line, about 20-minute wait that day. And there's a lady, and she starts chatting me up. She's like, I like your makeup. I like your outfit. Now, this is a normal exchange for me, so I'm not thinking too much of it. But she was beautiful. She was a cougar. Stay tuned. I love a good cougar, okay? That's my preference, honestly. But there is care and consideration when you're dealing with a cougar. I might educate some of you, even if you're not in the LGBTQIA, if you're a man watching, you want to date a cougar, you need to understand that there are games that will not be played. Any cougar is running a strict program. And in my own way, I run a strict program too. So she's chatting me up and then we just like kind of hit it off and it was really nice. I don't think anything of it. I go to the frozen aisle because I'm going to get my diet gluten-free, wheat-free, sugar-free cheesecake. I don't know if it's sugar-free, but it's definitely gluten-free and it's dairy-free. That's what it is. So I was going to get my little diet cheesecake. Well, lo and behold and lo, who shows up in the aisle with me? We're literally reaching for the cheesecake at the same time. Stay tuned for a funny part coming soon with that. So we're reaching and she was like, oh, I guess I have to fight you for this. And I was like, no, you don't have to fight me, but I got it first. I was like, I got it first. I said, I'll share. And so we were just chatting and whatever. And And I literally go to turn because we had our little moment and laughed and like, oh, you know how you'll be like, oh, we're dancing or you're following me around. You ever had that happen in the store with somebody? So I was just thinking it's that. And so I go to pull away, you know, Whole Foods has those little baby carts, those little like carts with the top and the bottom. So she literally grabs my cart when I go to pull away. And she was like, I feel like I need to take you for a drink. And I was like, for a drink? She was like, I said, well, what if I don't drink? Because I don't really like, I can, but it's not a big deal for me. So I was like, well, what if I don't drink? Plus I was driving too. It was like the middle of the day. And she was like, well, what about sushi? We were just standing at the fishmonger. I was like, oh, she's good. She's good. Now, let me tell you, for those of you that are straight, we all appreciate a beautiful lady. She was wearing red bottoms. These are bloody shoes. I said, I love that. I would never be in the Whole Foods in heels, even if I was 100 pounds soaking wet, okay? But I do love a woman that can wear a good heel. She was in some gorgeous red bottoms. And had a pencil skirt, and she was absolutely gorgeous. She was shorter than me, just like I like. I do love a short king. I love a short queen in my real life. That's an attraction for me. And so... yeah, she was juicy. Let's just say that. Let me just woosah. She was very attractive. And that's what I thought the commonality was, because pretty girls will tell pretty girls they're pretty. We'll be like, oh, I like your this, I like your that, da, 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 da. Just because I'm bisexual, I don't think that everybody that's complimenting me likes me, okay? So that happened. And I was like, oh, okay. And she was like, well, how about some sushi? Now, right next to my Whole Foods is in a fantastic award-winning, and that's a Leo me. I love award-winning, fantastic restaurants. So there's a fantastic sushi restaurant. She was like, why don't we go get some sushi? So we literally like cut cake through the aisles for the rest of the way through the store. We're shopping and laughing like we've known each other forever. I want you to understand this. That happened because I decided that soulmate contract was over. Her mounting, repeated triangulation, not just with men, with women, with randoms, with cabbies, with strangers, with the cat, with the dog. It was always something, and I kept telling her, like, I don't like this. I don't like this. When you repeatedly tell somebody, I'm talking about Demented Fairy, when you repeatedly tell somebody that you don't like something, they keep doing it, they don't give a fuck about you, and they're not trying to respect you. And I feel like she felt quite entitled to treat me a certain way, because she felt like I'm not really trying to be in whatever, even though I'm saying I want to be in it and whatever. So she felt like what the angel said is she had a battery in her back to be disrespectful to me, because her tribe and her hive mind crazy people didn't agree, because they never had shit like that. So why would they want her to have? She's so stupid. She didn't realize what was happening, but that was what was happening in reality. But my angels were like, get up. How much are you going to take from this demented person who's pilfering water to start, but then acting like 5-star incredible meals? Meals that she'll never do again in her life, and meals that she knew were good. Let me just tell you this. She had to slide her little tripod on the table. Now, we're on a date. I'm going to fast forward to something so you understand the juxtaposition of what happens when people are or are not playing in your face. We're on a date. She didn't ask me. She didn't say, like, hey, do you... It was just, she knew she was going to get that content, because it was not content she was ever going to get again. And she tried to conveniently cut me out of it. Now, here's the thing. I am very confrontational. So I said to her, what the fuck is this? Later, like, what is this? This seems really rude and mean. You have a friend giving you a buddy passing. You have big pictures and all the rest of it. But with me, are you embarrassed? Are you embarrassed? Like, I would ask her direct questions. She would lie. But she sure knew the value of whatever it was. If you guys want to know what it is, look up Victorian Albert's here in Florida and take a gander. And just know that I went all out. It was so all out that the chef invited us into the kitchen, because that's the vibe that I traffic in. I don't know about her, but she knew that it was a valuable experience, because she sure as hell had that fucking tripod on the table and didn't give a fucking damn about couth or what was appropriate, or like, should I even like check in or any of that, because she was going to get the footages. Shout out to Nene Leaks. She was going to get the footage so that she could post it on the content that I encouraged her to create. I was like, you should really do a YouTube channel. You have a voice, you've traveled, all the rest of it. I'm an encouraging, just like you, Earth Angel, encouraging person that loves people to win. And it's so funny. I encourage people to win, and they love to put their foot in my face and spit in my face. And that was the most spit in my face I ever got, was from her specifically. The way she behaved was so mean. Mean is what it was. Things she would never do with men. And I asked her one time, she did something that was really, really mean and triggering, considering that I was very open. And she was like, yeah, I can do this, and this, da, 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 da. And I said, have you ever done this with a man? This behavior that you're doing right now, have you ever done it with a man? And she was like, no, because she didn't have time to call Oedipus Rex on the phone and get what the answer answer should be. So she answered me mostly honestly. I think it was the truth because the baseline told me it was the truth. The blinking, the internal child thing that she did that was weird, all of it. So I was just like, oh, so you're just doing this to fuck with me when I've been nothing but gracious to you? Hold that. So back to this. She sure knew that it was a magical situation, even though she was like, oh, I didn't realize. No, you realized, bitch, because you had your tripod out and you weren't missing a thing. We couldn't even enjoy the dinner because you had to make sure that you got content, because I think you knew it was never going to happen again in your motherfucking life and she didn't deserve it. That was my lesson to learn. Sometimes earth angels, in efforts to be so kind, you will get burned. That was a burn. So anyway, I am fast forwarded, right? And that's what I mean by you don't have to wait for someone to say this is not happening. Or how are they treating you? And she wasn't treating me right. She wasn't. Listen, you could ask 10 strangers about what she did with the blindfold on, not seeing me, not seeing her. And they'd be like, this person is a maniac. This was absolutely horrific. And I thought about it for her. If your mother was on an international date, she called you and said, the person I'm on the international date with is now having a woman traipse around with us unbeknownst to us and wants to fuck up our whole day and plan, how would she feel? Because she was very Epiphany with her mama. I feel like she would feel away. But people that are crazy like that don't put themselves in that position where they would have compassion for someone else. She was just living her best life and playing in my face. So soulmate contract ended. You don't have to have permission. You don't have to talk about it. Also, she was not a mature person. So me going to her and being like, hey, this is something happening in my life, she would have thought I was triangulating her. She was trying to figure out with my platonic friends if I was sucking or fucking it. And I was like, I'm not you. I'm not doing any of that. This is really my friend. But, as soon as I broke that contract after the whatever she told me, I said, you know what, Jesus, I'm going to go do me, because this is insanity. This is insanity. This is insanity. And I don't deserve this. I was in some awkward timeline and I was like, Lord Jesus, why did you pull me in to be treated crazy like this? He said, you pulled you into this. Get up, sis, get up. This is supposed to be a quick 2-month lesson, and just like any other buddy else you've soulmate dated, and you just boom boom beep bop and it was over. But girl, sometimes people rock 'em, sock 'em. So she's like, let's go have sushi. So we do. But here's the thing, before we get out of Whole Foods, power move. That's what I love a cougar for. Oh, sniper, sniper, sniper. I know how I can snipe when I'm interested or like somebody. But we're like flirting through the aisles and having a good time and whatever. And it's time to pay for my groceries. Now, you know, at Whole Foods, you could get a bag of food, maybe a bag and a half of food. That's $200. And my bill that day was about $200. I had some fresh seafood. I had some other things. They put it all on ice for me. So nice. All that. You get what you pay for at Whole Foods to a certain degree. And before I could even go to pay, she black carded me. Power move. That was sexy. I'm just telling you, it was. It's how I felt. I said, oh, this is what it looked like. So I had been, mind you, look at the juxtaposition, how the angels did that for me. This is how I felt about it. I had been gifting, giving, and lavishing someone who literally didn't appreciate it and was just playing in my face and being mean and rude to boot. That doesn't mean she didn't have moments where she was nice. I always say that. That's what made it insidious. Treated me crazy, had me windmill for my life the last day we were in Iceland, only to fly down to take me to an ice bar and make it up to me. You see what I'm saying? Abusive type shit. Blue face type ish. So she black cards me. I'm talking about Cougar Sorrow. Now here's how my angels are super meta. This woman was a sorority sister. The Demented Fairy was a sorority sister, but she acted like she thought she lived in the gated community that the Cougar Sorrow did with the multiple degrees and the career that she had. She was quite haughty and snotty and snobby in the weirdest way. And I was like, I'm not going to level you down. The world will level you. I will just let you keep believing that you should treat people the way that you're treating them. It was unreal to me. Unreal. So, Cougar Sorrow, such a sweetie. Demented Fairy Sorrow, asshole. Snotty asshole who thought so. Cougar Sorrow had every reason to think so, with credentials to back it up, and was a Southern belle. Just swell, sweet, and magical. Anyway, she black carded me. Power move. I said, I know that's right. It's what I would have done if I was in the position, right? And so we go and we sit down and we have sushi. Now here's where I talk about ethics. Because of the nature of my relationship, y'all know I have a life partner, I have a husband. My husband has no interest in travel. My husband has some other non-interest that I share too. And before we got married, he said, you're bisexual. What does that mean for us? He wasn't asking me to marry him yet, but he was saying, this is when we started to get more serious. We went from just seeing each other to like more serious. He was like, what does that mean if we start like getting serious? And I was like, well, it means I still like women. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not decentering my love for women to center you. I will be a good partner to you. I will show up. This is what I will do. So this is why I feel comfortable saying this to you. No matter what relationship you think you have or you want to have, you get to have the relationship that feels right to you. And so I made sure to negotiate a relationship. And when I felt clustered and closed in my relationship, and I didn't feel like my husband was cooperating, because no marriage is perfect, I renegotiated the contract. And I said, listen, this is what's going on, and how do you feel about this? And right from the beginning, before there was ever marriage, when it was just dating, are you comfortable with me seeing men? Because I do like men. Obviously, I love you. And are you comfortable when we seeing women? He was like, I'm absolutely fine with you seeing women. I have no problem with you seeing women. And I said, but I want you to understand something. Me seeing women isn't a pylon, sleepover fantasy that you're going to watch on Corn. That's not what's happening. Me seeing women is a complete relationship that I have separately that has nothing to do with you. That doesn't mean he hasn't met my exes or a couple of my girlfriends or whatever he has, but with respect that is due. And there are things that I don't do. I don't turn my Riz all the way up in front of him. Demented Fairy would know nothing about that. There have been times women have flirted with me. There was maybe one time where, it was like an incredible flirt that I didn't even realize was happening. And that was actually very recently. It was so funny. I had just got back from Turkey, and it's when they found out that I had the pulmonary embolism, and I was sitting in the emergency room, and I walk in, and I see this woman, and she's beautiful, and she just had a fresh dye job, and I was just like, oh my gosh. But I don't pay attention because I'm like barely breathing, windmilling for my life. My husband's there with me. God bless his sweet soul. He's a fantastic life partner. But the place where I went to is one of the top trauma one centers in the country, and so the care there is incredible. I've never seen anything like it. I grew up in hospitals because of my mother, and there was an old vending machine with bad coffee, and like the lights were out on the candy bar side of the vending machine. Well, here they're wiping down everything every 30 minutes, and they're handing out fresh sandwiches and fruit salads and drinks. I've never seen anything like it. We were in the emergency room for many hours, so it was actually quite nice. Well, this lady that I had made eyes with comes around several times. She's wiping closer, but there's nobody sitting next to me. And I'm in a wheelchair because they're going to wheel me back in. So there's nobody sitting next to me. I'm like, she keeps wiping, and nobody's ever even sat over here. But I had made the eyes. Y'all know when you have chemistry with somebody. And then she makes the conversation similar to Sorrow Cougar Sorrow, and she's like, oh, I like your eyeshadow. I know all the girls and I were talking about it when you came in. Like, we were like, you're at the hospital. Why do you look like this? And all the doctors had asked me, and they're like, girl, I was like, well, I just came off of a flight, so don't relax. And I just grabbed my suitcase of what I had packed because I was on an international trip, hence the blood clots in my lungs. So, but she was like, oh, the girls are talking about it. We just love your outfit. That super sweet. But then I forgot to turn down the Riz because I'm very conscientious because I respect and love my husband. But we were and I guess he saw the Riz a little bit more up because he checked me. And my husband's not a jealous person. It's not something that he does. He understands who I am. But as soon as she walked away, he was like, Jesus Christ, babe, get a room. And I was like, yikes, I forgot to turn it down. I don't let him see me on my full Riz with women because it's respect against something Demented Fairy would know nothing about. So I was like, I don't want to ever hurt people. And because he was so gracious, I feel very lucky. There's not a lot of men that could handle who I am completely. And he handles me brilliantly. He was a manifestation too. There was a real world show that I manifest a lot off of movies and TVs, like a lot of you guys do too. And there's a couple that I saw, and I wanted exactly that relationship, and to a degree, I got it. And so I very much value my husband. He's an incredible, patient guy. He's very grounded, Capricorn, big Capricorn energy, big daddy energy, in his way. But we had fundamental differences, and that's why we negotiated the way we negotiated, and he was reasonable, and he was like, I understand, and I said respectfully, it'll be this, and this, and I'm not going to be, we're not having a sleepover, I'm not bringing bitches home for you to sleep with, that's not what this is, and no one's coming into our house to sleep with me, blah, 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 blah. For anybody that's ever been curious about what that looks like, that's what that looks like for me, and what I want you to know is you can make it look like for whatever it needs to look like for you, whether it's one-on-one and that's what you want to do, or whether it's more than that, but that's what works for you. I wasn't going to shut out who I was just to be part of the patriarchy to that degree. Anyway, that's why you hear me tell these stories about soulmate dating, because I have sanctioned it accordingly to what works for me and my marriage. Now, so this part that I just said goes into next. So we're at sushi, and we're flirting, and I know what this is about to be. And so I said, but before we even get started, because I move with integrity, again, say it with me, Demented Fairy would know nothing about that. I said, this is my situation. So I explained to a certain degree what I just explained to you guys. She puts down her sake. I'll never forget it. She sits back in her chair and she said, can I talk to your husband? Because I didn't tell you her occupation, y'all. She had a wonderful practice in divorce law, okay? And a major future now in real estate. And so I was a little bit taken aback, but I don't lie. That's one thing I don't do. That worked out in my favor that time. And actually, because of Demented Fairy's incredible gaslighting and her whole shill, I was incredibly comfortable with offering this woman a level of security because I know what it's like to be lied to your face and have someone playing in your face. So I was fresh dealing with crazy, entitled, nonsensical, piss poor, impoverished, miserable behavior, and I did not want to trigger anybody else, right? So I was like, okay. I told her, I'm seeing someone right now, because I was still technically seeing Demented Fairy, and this is my situation. And that's why I think she put down her sake like, bitch, this is a lot. And I was like, it is, and that's why this could stop right now. I will pay for my sushi, I'll even pay for your sushi, but we don't have to go past this. But she said, can I talk to your husband? So because of what I had gone through, my heart was soft, and I was like, absolutely. Which is not something anyone's ever really asked me before. They've just really taken my word for it, thank God, but that's because I live integrally. So I call my husband, and he picks up, and I'm like, babe, I just met someone at the Whole Foods, and they want to talk to you. So she was like, hi, I put him on speaker at the table. Hi, this is her name, Cougar Sorrow, and I just met your lovely wife at the Whole Foods, and she tells me you guys have this arrangement. She gives him like a 1 minute synopsis. And my husband is like the Marble Man. He's not a big talker. And he said, yep, that's right. And he said she just got back from Iceland with some... Now, this was great because I did not prime him or prep him or text him. As soon as she said yes, my angel said, do it if you want this experience, and called him right away. So there was no text like, hey, I'm calling cover for me, nothing. So he says she just got back from Iceland with Demented Fairy. He did not, of course, call her that. But she just got back from Iceland with someone that she's seeing. So no, this is normal. Now my husband has a dry, awkward Capricorn sense of humor, so he's like, you're not coming to dinner or anything, are you? And she's like, no. I just wanted to make sure. She was like, my work is I've done divorce law for so long. I want to make sure that this is real, and I don't want to be involved in any kind of mess. Like, she's like, I'm so impressed that your wife is so honest, but I wanted to just make sure because I have seen people lie in circles to, cover their ass. And he was like, no, this is legitimate. It's fine. And whatever. He's like, I'm not involved. She handles that her way. And he said she was respectful. And that kind of like made my heart pitter patter because that's what I aim to do. Say it with me, y'all. Demented Fairy could never, right? So then I shut the phone, and she was like, okay. She was like, I'm shocked. She was like, I totally saw this going another way. She was like, I thought I was going to be telling the girls at whatever game she plays, like, let me tell you what happens to me. And I was just like, no. And then we began to date. So fast forward. Okay, y'all, it's getting long. I have a good story time for you. Fast forward to our 5th date. And I remember because 5 is the number of change, okay? It's a Saturnian number. She invites me over to her place. And I'm driving up, and where I live, it's in the nice poo-poo area, okay? She didn't flex on me, though. I mean, I could tell by her outfit and her carriage and the Hermes belt. I was like, she flexing, but she wasn't, like, Demented Fairy could never. You understand? Like, Demented Fairy thought she was this person. That's what I was like. I was like, wow, she's so humble, and you're such an asshole. The juxtaposition of it. So she invites me, gated community, get in. She lives on like a little private lake area. I mean, there's tons of lakes in Florida, they're really retention ponds, but a little private lake in Florida. And she opens the door. She has on that Blanche robe. I love a cougar for a reason, y'all. She has on that one of them Blanche, thank you for being a friend. If you know the Golden Girls, one of those silky, only a cougar can do what a cougar does. I walk in, it smells incredible. I was like, oh my God, it smells so good in here. And she's sauntering in front of me. She's like, yeah, the oxtails have been on since this morning. This is how you know that you are loved. Demented Fairy had made me oxtails that were at that time the best oxtails I'd ever had in my life. But here's how it happened, and this is what I want you to understand about a karmic relationship, and one that may fit you more correctly and might be right for you, no matter what the outcome is. I was going up for her mom's birthday, and my birthday was right after, so I said, how about I send you some money? Would you cook oxtails for me? So I send her the money. She sends me the cute little flirty picture back with her book bag, like, secure the goods. And she did, in fact, make oxtails for me, and they were freaking-tastic. She could be the most evil demented fairy. I'm never going to lie about what she did well, besides the lie, okay? So they were fantastic. But I had to fly to New York. I had to send her the money, and then, go there and all the rest of it, and share the wealth, if you will, right? Happily, I fully expected her and mom to take some. She sent me home with some in her freezer. She also, on her Netflix and chill day, maybe the most incredible, I think it was like oxtail quesadilla or grilled cheese, I don't know, on some gluten-free something magical. It was delicious. Demented Fairy could burn. That was one of her, like, siren lords. I said, bitch, you better burn. She could burn. And that was probably at that time, it was like the best food. Usually I'm the cook when I'm with women or men, but with her, she actually really could cook, and that was really enjoyable. But you see all the work that had to happen? I had to take a flight. I had to pay for a flight. I had to pay for the oxtails. I had to ask her if she could cook it. She made a little video on her channel. She wasn't such a hater. I shout her out because she made a video of cooking the oxtails for me, and it was some of the best oxtails that I ever had. I really enjoyed it. And I remember when I was done with her in my head after Iceland, I was like, damn, I'm never gonna, I'm never going to have this, like, cooking, because I was getting ready to get rid of her and know that it was over, and she was getting ready to get rid of me. The discard was coming on either end, really. And so I was like, man, that's not going to happen. No one's going to be burning like that. So now listen, Cougar Sorrow doesn't know I have a YouTube channel, because I learned so much with Demented Fairy that I never want to date someone that knows what I do spiritually. Like, she knew that I'm a spiritualist, but she doesn't know that I teach and that I talk to you guys all over the world and whatever else, or that I've had a radio show. She might have looked me up. I know how she is, but she wouldn't still have found this specifically. So I was just like, at that time, okay? Because we were just a few dates in. So oxtails cooking since morning. I know that's right. And, oh my gosh. So good. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen The L Word, but Bet and her wife had this really romantic scene where they're cooking pasta. So that's something that I had manifested. And I wanted that scene where I was cooking with a woman, and it was really wonderful. Me and Demented Fairy cooked together, but I just never could lock in with her energetically, because I always had to have a guard up. I didn't know what was going to happen. We had a good time sometimes, guys, but it was just, she was so stressful for my nervous system. So I didn't really just, like, relax. Well, with Cougar Sorrow, she's like, I still have to make one side. I have to make a couple sides. The oxtails were done, but I have to make a couple sides. And I went, what do you make it? She was like, mushroom risotto. It's one of my favorites. So, real laborio rice. She has the stock pot going, if you guys are chefs, with the stock going for the, the rice, because you add it ladle by ladle till it starts to absorb, and then it releases its starch, is what really makes it creamy. Then you put on the pecorino romano at the end. I said, what mushrooms are going in? It's my two favorite mushrooms. Mushrooms were a theme, but we were eating them for fun and psychedelics with Demented Fairy. But instead here, everything was so wholesome with Cougar Sorrow. We're cooking them, right? They're my two favorite mushrooms, which are oyster and trumpet. Trumpet is not one that people come across often, and I treat them like scallops, and so did she. So you cut them into medallions and then score them, and then, like, sear them, and then slowly cook them, and they're so buttery and creamy, so incredibly good. So there was oyster inside of the risotto, and then she plated it with the scallop trumpet mushrooms on top. Jesus. So good. So we're having a whole moment, y'all. Y'all want to be in TMI in my life here. And, I'm standing behind her and, talking shit. And we're like, I'm helping her ladle and whatever. I'm like, oh, let me teach you. I was like, you can teach me, whatever. It was a really romantic, good time. She pulls out some plantains that are all prepared. She's like, we have to have plantains with oxtail, Southern Belle, y'all. So then we're sitting down to watch a movie after, and it's dessert. She pulls out a homemade chess pie. I've never told anybody, not any woman I ever dated knows. Chess pie is my favorite pie. It's like chess and oatmeal. So she had mixed the two, just like I would do, because chess is more like a custardy, but I like with an oatmeal. So she made like this oatmeal crust and the chess pie, and she was like, oh, I just need to grab the cream, and I thought she meant ice cream. She gets out cold cream, cold ice cold bowl, like chef shit that just turns me on. Cold ice cold bowl and a hand mixer. Y'all get a Cougar, get a Cougar. And so she's like whipping fresh cream and she's putting Splenda in it. She was like, I made this gluten free and I made it with Splenda so it's sugar free for you, because by that time she kind of knew. And so she makes a sugar free whipped cream for me and hand feeds me. End scene. Okay. Fifth date, I was in. I was like, we talking about in it. I was like, oh my gosh. And the juxtaposition was incredible because I decided I want to stop being treated crazy with someone. I love women because of the emotional connection. And Demented Fairy was doing this, like, emotional connection where? Like, and also now I realize she was vapid and not capable of it. And, you know, it's like asking someone to pay you back money that they don't have. She just didn't have it. People can only give you what they have. But this was a fully formed, in every way, beautiful woman who was whole in many ways. And she did some incredible things for me. As we dated, she was like, I think you are neurospicy. I have a friend who's a doctor. I'd love to pay for your testing. Where I was gifting and lavishing Demented Fairy, and she was taking. It doesn't mean that she didn't pay for a date. It doesn't mean she didn't give me trinkets, that she didn't surprise me, that she didn't take me on one of my favorite dates, actually. After we got into a whole weird thing where she was being like, you're a weird tourist because you want to ride a jitney. She wanted to go to an ATM. That was the whole purpose of it, to get money in cash, because she was taking me to this incredible Italian restaurant that was gluten-free. And I remember it was like a movie. I pull up and I was like, oh, babe, we should try this out. And she was like, how about right now? I made reservations for us here. We're a little early, but maybe we can go in and sit down. A movie complete with a little walk up the block to a beautiful, the best gluten-free bakery I've ever seen in my life, somewhere out in New York. It was incredible. Those moments happened with Demented Fairy, but then it was also the rest of it where I was windmilling for my life. So I can't say that she didn't do things that were nice, because she did. I'd be a liar, unlike her, which I would be a liar like her, I should say, if I told Elias that she didn't do nice things. And that's why abusive relationships are insidious that way. One of my top 5 favorite dates was that moment when I'm like, let's try it. And she's like, I'm ahead of you. I already booked it. And that's why I needed cash so that I could pay for that. And she didn't like penny pinch or do anything weird. We sat down just like I would feed her fully, and we get everything on the menu. We got every single thing we wanted. So I can say she was fair in moments. That's why I was so disgruntled and frustrated with the stymieing and the blocking and the weird stuff she was doing, because she was capable of much more, but she just didn't want to give that to me. But guess what? As soon as I realized Soul Contract was over after Iceland and I almost got my hand crushed up by the crazy wizard, I said, okay, I'm done with Demented Fairy. The second I emotionally decided I'm done, it opens me up to this other incredible experience. When I was like, I'm done playing with her, I'm done letting her play with me and hurt my feelings anymore. Like, obviously she acts like it's too much and she's put off and she wants to give me affection when she feels like it. I'm not with the shits. Guess who wasn't like that? Cougar Sorrow. She was a wish and a dream come true. So she pays for me, because at the time that was a big buzz on social media, for me to go get tested to figure out exactly how I'm neurospicy. I couldn't thank her enough. It was such an incredible offering. I believe in the rule of camp. When you're dating someone that's older than you, ladies, whether it's a man or a woman, they need to leave you better than they found you. And I honored that with Demented Fairy. What I gifted to her and some of the opportunities and some of the things I did with her will, as my angels told me, will be things that are not replicated. She may take a long time to do that. She has a lot of soul work to do. But with this woman, I was paid back immediately. My mother always said, don't do for do, or like, don't be kind to someone because you expect them to give it back to you. She was like, people are not always going to give back to you what you give them. But I believe that what you give out, you always get back. There will always be reciprocity with that. And what happened was, with Cougar Sorrow, there was reciprocity immediately. She was kind, she was sweet, she was thoughtful, she was affectionate. We fought over the bill all the time. I let her have her power move. She was definitely power top lesbian, 100%. And I let her, whatever. But she was feminine, and I love that. I love that so much. I love a beautiful woman. And she was so kind to me. So she ends up leaving me better than she finds me, because now I understand. You know those memes now all over TikTok that are like, here I've been raw dogging life, even though I had ADHD and this and that. Well, I didn't have everything on the list. But when I discovered, this is why my brain works the way it does, it was so brilliant. It was such an act of love. And she came with me to a couple of things and things like that, because I love to travel with the woman that I love, or that I care about, or who I'm seeing. And so I wanted to go to Costa Rica, and she was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's make some time and do it. So we went away to Costa Rica, black sand beaches, on my toes. She rented a house for us. Usually I'm the Airbnb renter. You see how God repaid me immediately? Usually I'm the Airbnb renter and the orchestrator, and I don't mind, because usually it's not a problem. But she was like, no, I'm going to run a place. We had a butler, we had a chef, and they made themselves so scarce. Beautiful balcony upstairs. So incredible. I also wanted to do ayahuasca. Mama Aya was calling me, but I told her I am going to flip out if I am in a jungle with spiders, because spiders and me have made peace, but I said I cannot be on a psychedelic or whatever ayahuasca is and see spiders. I need it to be luxury. I need it to be clean. I need my bidet. I need to have a bucket to throw up in. I need a bathroom to go to. I need my bidet. I need all my gloves. I need all my things, okay? So because of all the surgeries I had, I have a very, particular regiment about a bathroom use. I really try not to use public restrooms, like a whole thing for me. So she was like, let's see if we can make it happen. So she made it happen. She found a shaman. She took care of the experience. And we were in a state-of-the-art place, essentially like a hotel. That was a suite. It was nice, which wasn't our place. So she took care of the extra expense. And I was like, I'll split it with you. I'll do whatever. I'll take care of it. Because she was so generous with me. Now, here's things. I might have to make another video because I'm running long here and I got to go. With cougars, you have to be very careful, because that can also be a pull and a trap too. And you have to be careful. If they're not really into you, they can use their money and their power too. And it's something anybody, that if you've not been through it, you ever dated an older man of affluence, let's say for you, maybe it's not a cougar, but maybe you dated someone that was older, or sugar daddy, quote unquote, even if you weren't a sugar baby in the most technical way, like the website type shit, but just like someone older. The older people have different expectations. That's why I don't play with people at all. And I'm always super honest with how I'm going to be involved, or what my intentions are. And that's why I split things with her, or I paid outright for things that I had to go and give the waiter my card and stuff, because I didn't want her to feel like, I'm here, you don't own me, even though I really enjoyed her. There's a line to toe. I might do some dating advice videos, no matter who you're dating, but you have to be very careful how you manage that. But anyway, I appreciated it because I understood it was the rule of camp, and I had this experience. Now let me tell you about Mama Aya. That might be a whole nother video for another day. But what I discovered was so healing for me, because I discovered, it cracked me open. I'm going all the way back into, I made a video right after, but it's really unhinged, so I don't know if I'll ever load it. So it was the medicine was kind of still in me. So maybe I'll take notes and do a video that's less unhinged. But I realized that because of my father's diabolical energy, part of the reason I love women is because I think I was trying to love women the way that my father never loved me. He had his own mother issues, why I understand the root of all that triangulation and everything. And he hated his mother. And so he punished women. And I kept showing up in women's life to love them so completely, with masculine energy to a certain degree, with my femininity, but my masculine energy. Mama Aya cracked me open, and she said, you are now free. Because I had to see why and how I was breaking generational curses. And generational curses will happen in ways, even if you think you can outrun them. For days and days, I'm going to fast forward or rewind back. My mother told me a story about my father bringing a woman into the house, and my mother asked who was the woman. He was showing her around the house. My father had a beautiful multi-bedroom house that he built from scratch in Grassy Key in the Keys, and it was like a mansion, really, and it had a widow's peak, and it was beautiful, a spiral staircase up to the widow's peak. And my mother said, who's this woman? And my father said, she's the maid. And my mother said to me, she laughed and I thought I was the maid. She found out later he had told her that my mother was the maid. And my mother and father were married, okay? I purposely didn't date West Indian men. Mama Aya took me through all of this, okay? I purposely didn't date West Indian men. And I steer away sometimes from Black American men. I did date Black American women, but you can't outrun a generational curse. The disrespect that Demented Fairy did to me in Iceland was me breaking the generational curse. Because the way that I dog cussed her out is the way that my little 8-year-old heart, when I heard that story, wished my mother would have cussed my father out. That doesn't mean she didn't eventually leave him and cuss him out and throw the plates and defend herself from his horrific physical and diabolical abuse. But I felt like Demented Fairy was like the chocolate version of my twin flame, yeah? And any twin flame is probably some rooted childhood wounding, if y'all really want to know the tea. And I had left peaceably, because I didn't want to end up under an Alabama jail for cracking that girl's head open. People always love to play with me, and they don't know what I come from. It's so funny when I watch women playing in my face, I'm like, wow, it's so good that I'm healed, and it's so good that you get to live another day so you can die another day, but not with me. But I left peaceably from my twin flame because she was playing reindeer games with me. And I always felt like this nagging, like I never cussed her out properly in the moment of it, da-da-da-da-da. I just protected myself because it was intense spiritual warfare. And the devil will trick you. The devil was on my shoulder, and so was my narcissistic, bipolar, crazy-ass father, too. He was on my shoulder too, talking about some cracker head, just like I've showed you. So it was a very thin line between death, life, and jail for me. And I went and prayed and retreated, and I felt like a pansy because I knew it was the right thing, but I was like, this is exactly, she was triangulating me with another woman and being just as brazen as my father had been. And I dealt with it, and I thought, okay, I up-leveled, I got out of it, but the chocolate karmic twin, she wasn't a twin flame at all, but let's say the karmic partner that I had that kind of reminded me of my twin, it was like unfinished business. That was the last piece of the unfinished business. I wouldn't call her a twin at all. I would call her a karmic feminine energy for sure. The way that she went on that date with someone in front of me, I got to finally release and tell her what a piece of shit she was to her face and hold her fully accountable for being the disgrace of a human that she was choosing to be. She could be better. See, there are some people I've dealt with that were crazy, and my dad just went after them like I started with the story. But with her, I just had spiritual help because they said she's choosing to treat you this shitty. So she didn't get a pass on you. You not all the way, you ticky ticky boom, you're not there. You know, so I didn't restrain myself out of great care. I let her have it fully while we were there, which I now know saved her life properly. I don't care if she's married to the wizard right now. That violence is in he, and she better be careful because he'll show it to her when he doesn't feel like he gets what he wants. Urine Vandersloot, I will never forget it. Never channeled that in my life. It terrified me. But back to this with Mama Aya. It showed me the generational curse that I had been pouring my soul into women and trying to create families with women, and in all of these upside down soulmate contracts. Sometimes it'd be a straight woman that would fall in love with me. Sometimes it would be a straight woman that was sure she wasn't in love with me that started to act like my man because she was mad that I had other women that I was dating because I was honest about it. Sometimes I was in regular ass relationships one-on-one with one woman. Sometimes it was this, sometimes it was that, but I had all of these things where it was me trying to provide family, upliftment, love, and nurturing the way that I thought it should have been with my father. And Mama Aya said, how many more times are you going to run into the arms of the woman, a woman who is hurting you because you are not healed and you are not whole within you? And you know what it broke off of me, which was the greatest irony, okay? It broke off of me the desire to be in a relationship with anybody. When they say ayahuasca, when Kendrick recommended to Drake, I recommend some ayahuasca to strip the bottom out of you, that's what he meant. Because it stripped the bottom out of me. I realized how I had been replaying all of this codependency and how I kept trying to fold it into new relationships that were just not good for me. Even if I was able to make it work, or I dated a girl for a few years and it was good, but then it went belly up. Now imagine the challenge. I'm with a Cougar Suro who is a beautiful balance for the first time in my life. A grown-up who knows how to use her words, fantastic at communicating. She is got money. She is, but I don't fixate on that because God always gives me what I need. So I never worry about somebody's money. Thank God. That's just not one thing I have. But that, or that's not a complex I have. But yeah, she did take care of a lot of things. In fact, heads up before I get to that next part, she told me we were just going to go do a little tour through Puerto Viejo? I don't know where we were. But what it was, the car that she hired took us to a pier and a dock. There was a boat. She had rented a private charter to take us to a private black sand beach, which is a fucking fantasy for me. Maldives is my favorite vacation spot. And she was kind of dangling that. She was like, you want to do business class on Emirates? But I knew after Mama Aya that I could not do it. We're almost there, guys. Yeah, girl. Y'all. The journey. So, because I could afford coach on Emirates. But I was not going to be able to do business class on Emirates. Whew. Black sand beach. Just me and she. Picnic. Boat gone for 4 hours. Totally isolated. Like a fucking dream for me, guys. Like, so romantic. The idea that she'd taken the time. She had done it. She knew that I wanted this experience. She made it a reality. And I was beating my head against a wall with Demented Fairy. And God was like, if you release the penny, the tarnished brown sewer penny, we can give you what you want. If it's what you want. Very much choose your pill. Choose your poison, right? Oh my God, y'all. This was such an interesting moment because Mama Aya shows me I don't want a girlfriend at all. That what I deserve is a relationship. And I'm done chasing it. I'm done nurturing it when bitches are being ungrateful and they don't want it. I'm done being in upside down situations with people that are mean and weird and they are becoming my dad to me in the weirdest ways, you know? I had broke the curse Mama Aya showed me when I had cussed her out in Iceland. Meaning I broke the generational curse. My mom just took it and she stayed until she left eventually, but she didn't leave immediately. And to me, that was the deal breaker. And I had purposely not dated West Indian and African American men because I was like, I will never be treated like that. Only to be treated exactly like that with the Demented Fairy. The way that she was disrespectful and rude to me should be studied and will be, okay? It's so funny. Towards the end of that connection, I was like, what do you see for us? And I remember when people are in a different frequency than me, I just hear noises and she was barking. She was like, I don't see anything. She was just essentially telling me she didn't see anything like future-wise for us, but she was barking because her real demons had surfaced. And my angels were irritating the shit out of her demons. And it was so funny. The orange color for sacral chakra was something that we use all the time. She liked orange. I like orange. And I thought being with her, it would be great sacral energy for me. She was siphoning my sacral energy. That's how the angel showed it to me. And said this bitch wasn't giving you shit. She was taking energy, up-leveling herself in whatever way she could, and running with it. Well, it's so funny because when she's barking at me on the phone, I don't see anything. And she was so nasty. This is not the beautiful fairy in the beginning that was dropping off a queen. This is a demented fae that was mean. And I'm standing at a beach, and there's an orange truck that goes by, and I'm confused because I'm like, oh, it's orange. But it says, I might put it on my community page. It says orange sewer. It said something like sewer something, but it was a bright orange truck that was a sewer truck. That's why I say tarnished sewer ass penny, because the angels, as she's barking and telling me she doesn't see any future, the angel said, please release her, Kraken. Please release her. Get up. We're so sick of this shit. We're so sick of how disgusting she's being to you. Like, when you get a spirit team mad at you, I was like, I hate it for you, sis. That's your ass when I'm out of here, because they don't want any karma to backsplash on me. But they were showing me, like, you need to set yourself free from this. But they said, we did not miss by sending her into you. Y'all could have worked together, but that's not what she chose to do. And so instead, you will transmute all of the nasty shit she sent you, and you'll turn it into whatever you want to. That's how we do Earth Angel. That's our, watch my other channel, Unique. We're unique. When people are twisted and they want to contradict it and they have lies on their lips, we happily lick it. I'll turn that shit into something. So we don't have to work together. I saw us working together, but that's all subjective to free will. She chose, and I will still do my part still. We don't ever drop the baton over here, Earth Angels. That's not what we're on. Anyway, back to Mama Aya. She breaks me open and shows me, how about you don't need a girlfriend? And how about you deserve a relationship? And how about these relationships you've had are subpar bullshit and they are replicas of your dad to some degree, and you're done with this chapter of your life and you're healing. Now, here's my dilemma. Next morning, after my luxury experience of Mama Aya, exactly how I manifested it, I'm with a cougar, but in my Mama Aya thing, I saw Panthers and all kinds of incredible things. Anyway, I'll make a video about that someday. She comes upstairs. She hands me freshly ground Costa Rican coffee. Stay tuned for a channel about that coming up here. She hands me freshly ground Costa Rican coffee that the chef has made downstairs. We're on the balcony. When I'm with my lady, I really like for them to stand in front of me, especially if they're a little bit shorter than me. And she was. So normally she would have slid in front of me. But I am sick because I know that the relationship that I'm enjoying with her so much can no longer be. Because Mama Aya has just freed me. She's healed me. It almost like, I don't know, it was like I was inoculated from wanting to be with a woman. And it's not that I'm not bisexual, I still love women, but I was like, I'm done with the drama. They were showing me how I was pouring all of my energy into these people that didn't know what to do with it. Like Demented Fairy, for example. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. It went to her head. I thought it was feeding her heart. It was filling her ego. So she was just getting this huge head off of all the attention and the energy. Attention from me, attention from others, because that's what will happen when you're in the thrall of an earth angel. So she was not using it for good. She wasn't building anything with it. She was just being fucking reckless and wasting it. And my angel showed me that in many of my relationships, when I was loving on someone, they were not using it the way that God would use my gift to help many people. They were using it selfishly for them. And that doesn't mean I didn't flirt with people or have, flirtations or whatever, but because I'm always interested in the relationship. But as soon as I discern it's not going to be a reciprocal relationship and it's an upside down contract, it pisses me off now. Mama Aya healed me from being attracted to subpar treatment and anything, even potential crazy, because Cougar Sorrel was beautiful. She was a dream. She still call my phone fat. I mean, she just hit my phone up and I didn't want to write a song. I'll fast forward to that. She could still hit my phone up though, because she was lovely and we had real words. But instead of sliding in front of me and me sitting behind her and drinking my coffee and us having our little morning chat, I kind of like kept her. And she was like, "Are you okay?" And in my soul, I was crestfallen. I was like, shit. I'm going to have to break up with this woman because God had said to me through Mama Aya, no more. No more women. You need a break. They showed me how I had been in a relationship my whole life. Even when I met my husband, when we were just dating, I was actively dating women, but I had a long-term relationship with my twin flame. I've always had a woman that was a lover that I had a love relationship with, and they knew it and I knew it. We mutually knew it. And it wasn't gaslit like with Demented Fairy. It was really happening. And my Mama Aya said no more. She was like, we're done with that chapter of your life. You need to be by yourself. And you don't need to keep trying to feed this endless fire. It's not desire, it was codependency. And that's what she showed me. And so I was able to understand. And we got back from Costa Rica and I broke up with her like not long after. It was December. We went in November, but it was December. It was the beginning of December I broke up with her. And then I broke up with Demented Fairy by the end of January. I was done with everybody. I broke up with best friends. I broke up with old friends. I broke up with every woman. I wanted no women in my life that were not acquainted or far away from me. I have friends and I kept friends, but the deep blood-sucking or draining relationships that I had in my life where people were using me as a surrogate partner and putting me in weird third-party situations where they were not moving in integrity, because I run a strict program. So you could be attracted to me, and I don't mind the invisible lines as long as we're doing this right. But not everybody wants to do things right. They want to be on your program, they want to be in your life, but not everybody wants to do things right. And that was really hard. And Cougar Sorrow says to me, I thought we had a really good thing going. Like, I'm confused, like what's happening. And I was like, I just need to heal. I said, I don't want to bleed on you and you didn't cut me. I said, I told you I was seeing someone and that is something I need to recover from. And I had to get real therapy. I had real PTSD. I had to really process how fucking horrible she was to me. And how much I allowed it. The thing about being in an abusive relationship is the shame you feel for allowing it. You understand? Because when I cussed her out in Iceland, it was like the orgasm. It was so needed that she needed to know you are a dirty, down leg, stinky ass, and I can be real like, And she was playing in my face like I might have been retarded, I think. And I was like, bitch, there's one person retarded here, it's not me. Smart is something I'll never not be. So you played a dumb game and you won a stupid prize in reality. So I got to do what my mother didn't do with my father, thereby breaking the generational curse, as Mama Aya showed me. I got to do what I didn't do with my twin, which was I left peaceably, like my mother taught me, turn the other cheek. But with that bitch, I said, you're a fucking asshole. And I see you, and I'll never unsee you. And that broke it right then. Even though I still had to go through the paces, I was able to break a generational curse of someone flying in my face and treating me with zero respect. Everything could have been done with integrity. If she would have said one or two words, that could have been handled differently. But she was insisting on having it her way like my daddy did. And the demons in me and my shadow said, abso-fucking-lutely not, sis. And even though I did that to break the generational curse, my angels showed me the multi-layer. They said, you saved her life. This dumb bitch was about to be raped up and cut the fuck up and thrown out into the fjords and the ice. You can't with people, y'all. And so when Mama Aya showed me, do you want to have more demon portals of these crazy bitches in your life? Then keep chasing this codependent thing. You're not your father. You've already provided enough healing for bitches across the land. And actually, we have a mission for you, which you need to understand. And it's not direct relationships and one-on-ones. So here I am with the best I've ever had. Talking about I had never been with the baddie. That was my first baddie. Like, I thought I had dated people and they were cute and they were good and they had money and da-da-da-da-da. I ain't never been with the baddie, okay? When she dropped me the addy, I said, oh, this is my first real baddie. And my angels and Mama Aya said, and cut her free. Oh, my God, yeah. Oh, Lord, Jesus. Now, we had not, I'm very careful with my sexual energy. So we were super, super, super affectionate, super cuddly, and super everything. But I was telling her, listen. Let me tell you, I just need to, but there's a threshold. That's what I'm talking about with Cougars. And I'll do that in another video because we are way too long now. We're at a movie length over here. I knew if I went into a sexual energy with her that it could get very corrosive, corrupted. We could be a super codependent. All that stuff I had just healed, she was the one I would have locked in with. And that's why I say she could still hit my phone. She could still hit my phone up. But I set a boundary. And I literally didn't talk to her for a year. Not in a mean way. I was like, I like you. I like you too much. And I need to, deal with myself here. So she reached out to me recently. And she's like, oh, some of my clients, happened to give me some tickets to a concert. And I'm like, did they? And it's Fantasia and Anthony Hamilton, so it's a romantic concert. She's like, I need a concert cuddle buddy. I need a big spoon, which was like our inside joke. And I was like, I want to be big spoon. She says to me, it's so funny, she's like, are you healed yet? Ooh, I'm hearing D'Angelo, slice of the devil's pie, take a sip, take a bite. I was like, oh my God, Jesus Christ. I was like, I'd love to go to the concert. She's like, do you want to do a weekend of it? I'll rent a place. I was like, no, let me think about this. My point in saying this to you guys is that me cutting off everybody after Mama Aya showed me my codependency and me trying to be my dad to people and love women properly and heal his mother wound before I ever existed, what it did was it set me free, sis. The best year of my life happened, even though I had a lot of medical stuff going on last year and the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. When I cut off all of these brats, ungrateful bitches, demented fairies, and fae, and snakes, and God knows everything in between, my life took off. I realized how it was draining my life force to love these people. And even though I really enjoyed the Cougar sorrow, and God knows I do and I did, I knew that I was not ready to take it to the next level with her. because I want a real relationship. And I don't know. I was talking to one of my homegirls, and let me tell you something. I didn't tell a single soul about dating that Cougar Sorrow. Not a single evil eye could undo it. Not a single soul. And I didn't even talk to the Demented Fairy because she didn't deserve it. She was so disrespectful and wild. I was like, girl, also because of her deep insecurity, she would have just thought that it was a challenge and I was trying to get her and whatever. And I was just like, no, God was trying to get me because your behavior was atrocious. And so God was like, oh, this is not what we have for our this is. You are dismissed unceremoniously. But with this situation, what do you do when you have the thing you think you want in your hand? But Mama Aya said, this is not on plan. One day, maybe I will have a relationship with a woman. I'm a Leo, so I never turn down love. Also, now that I don't want it, it's always in my face, unironically. But I'm not interested in anybody. I don't want anybody because I finally realized that being with people is such a life suck for your energy. And for me, because I love people so completely and they love me back like a fraction, actually. And then I'm just drained and I'm not accomplishing anything. I've got so much done this last year and a half. I've had the most incredible manifestations come true for me because I said, I don't want a bestie. I don't want a friend. I don't want a situationship. I don't want a demented fairy bitch. I want nobody. And Mama Aya broke that shit off of me. She broke the yoke of iniquity off of me. I highly recommend that you go someplace that's spider free. But even the spiders, it's so funny, spiders came to me in my thing, but they made such peace with me. Now they're warriors for me. Now they're guardians. They show up when people are evil and they don't like them. They're like, I don't like that bitch. I am very at one. I had a little spider crawl me the other day and I was like, I don't want to kill you. I just moved it. Never in my life. Talk about some real stuff that Mama Aya does. She rearranged my mind. I literally was talking to the spider like, I don't want to, but the spider was there to let me know you got some hating ass bitches that are still circling like crows. So that part, vultures. But I was like, thank you, spider, for the message. Never in my life did I think I could do that. That's the magic of growth and spiritual growth, but also Mama Aya too. So I released the Kraken on that relationship, and that little temptation of Cougar Sorrow tiptoeing back in, talking about some, hey, big head, are you healed yet? I was like, and you know what she did though? I will say this, and I will leave you with this. She thanked me for the way that I showed up for her. She said, you were such a great relationship that I was with my therapist like, I don't understand what happened. Like, we had an incredible time together. And we did. And she also chartered a little thing for us to go have up in the mountains a beautiful dinner in Costa Rica. And guess there wasn't a tripod on the table. It was a romantic date. It's like everything that Demented Fairy messed up, God immediately repaid me back with. And I can have so much to write. She was such a beautiful muse for me. So healing, so lovely. Helped me understand my brain. Literally took me on a black sand Costa Rican trip. I wanted to go to Mount Everest, not really to climb it, girl. I'm not doing any of that. And I couldn't even breathe. But I was like, when I get healthy, this is what we had talked about, that I was like, I don't want to go to base camp even. I'm trying to talk about luxury. I want to be someplace and see Mount Everest. But she was someone I could make those dreams come true with, but there would be a cost for it too. Sometimes you have a mandate on you, and I have work to do with you guys. You're my ladies. You're my gentlemen. You're the loves of my life, is to teach and connect with you. And my angels really challenged me, and they said, can you cut your codependency out of you and always having a girlfriend up underneath you to some degree, whether people know about it or it's done in secrecy? And I answered the call. I broke the generational curse. I cussed out the asshole that showed up in my father and treated my mother worse. I held myself accountable. And when I had someone beautiful literally in my hand, I said, I will close off this moment and this portal because God has a different plan. And the temptation is there. But I stay strong because I know that you and I, the collective, have so much more to do and so much more to grow. And I feel like having a partner to that degree would genuinely impede my trajectory. And that is how Mama Aya completely healed me. Never in my life did I think I would want to be up underneath some beautiful titties. Some beautiful boobies, some beautiful breasts. I love women. Yes, yes, yes. But God said, in your life, it's a mess. And for the first time in my life, I said, I'd like to live with less stress. And if it means that I can give to the collective more clearly, then that is a vice, because we have various addictions. And I think my codependent relationships with women were one that I'm willing to cut cold turkey. A date, a this, a that, sometime in the future maybe, but it's nothing that I'm coveting desperately. And I feel like I wanted relationship. Not even with the mental fairy would I feel desperate. I think she would have flipped it around in her brain. She was super high off me liking her. But I'm talking about, like, with besties and stuff, I wanted desperately to be in family. You know what I mean? Because my father did not provide family or safety. I kept waiting for women to invite me in to their families, and they would. I would get keys. I would get bedrooms remade for me. My bestie did that. Like, she redid the whole bedroom when our relationship was ending, and she was like, I want you to be so comfortable, and people would give me keys to their house as soon as I meet them. Like, women always invite me in, but then the games began. And Mama Aya said, we don't want you to always be playing a game. We don't always want you to be driven insane, and you're being derailed off of your life trajectory because you keep being in pain, because you're transmuting everyone else's pain, and they abandon you as soon as they get the ups on you. As soon as they feel better, as soon as their mental illness levels out, then they're like, I don't need you, and then they are discarding you. And it's just the way your father discarded women. It's like you're going through all the cycles. And so now the generational curse is finally broken. It felt good to cuss her out. I am so grateful that I let those words fly out of my mouth. I wish my mother would have, but I did it on her behalf. Sometimes you cannot outrun your generational curses. You cannot outrun the things that ail you. You cannot outrun your codependency. You have to face it. I had to look at the darkness in me, and when I had the best thing, a bird in the hand, a baddie, my favorite kind of cougar, God said, set it free. Set it free. And all you can do is say, did you heal? No. I still need some time. It doesn't mean that we couldn't end up together someday. It does mean that I have some spiritual dues to pay, because what they have done for me, especially with my health, is miraculous. And I owe my angels, and I owe God that guides me to do whatever it is that they mandate that I'm going to do, even if it is sharing a movie length message with you. So good sharing energy with you guys. All right, I got to get my day super started. I'm way behind. I love you so much. Come back. Thank you for sharing energy with me. We'll continue to evolve together out of codependency.